Hashira are the highest ranking members of the Demon Slayer Corps, but what if something happened to corrupt each of them into becoming demons themselves? Today we're going to talk about what each of the Hashira would look like as demons. We'll be going into what their powers would be and how strong they could become. Let's start with Kyojuro Rengoku. He's interesting because he received an offer to become a demon during the Mugen Train arc. He refused Akaza's offer, but the idea of a demonic Rengoku is still exciting. As a demon, he would go by the name Onibi, and his design would still contain his fiery appearance. However, his face would be covered in heavy burns and scars, and his body would be flaming hot. Not only that, but he would have red horns and an extra eye on his hand. He always had a large appetite as a human, and now he would be equally ravenous when devouring his victims. Rengoku would retain his loud, boisterous personality, but his friendly nature and kindness are gone. Instead, replaced with a sense of superiority against all humans, believing that they're either better off dead or as demons like him. Just like what Akaza did to him, Rengoku would offer those who he considered worthy opponents the chance to become a demon. He would still use fire-based abilities in battle. A favorite tactic of his would be to use a burst of flames to burn away everything and everyone in his path. This reckless fighting style of his would cause plenty of death and destruction in his wake. Whenever he uses his sword in battle, it's engulfed in flames. If we were to rank him, we'd list him in the upper moons. Upper rank 4. Easily able to defeat Hontengu and his alternate forms, but still not quite strong enough to beat Akaza. Moving on, the next Hashira we'd like to focus on is Tengen Uzui. As a demon, his name would be Yamabiko. He'd take his flair for the flashy turn it up to 11. His outfit would be much more colorful and have jewels embedded in parts of it to make it sparkle. Here, Tengen will have founded a cult based on himself, similar to upper rank 2 Doma. But unlike Doma, who never believed his lies, Tengen genuinely sees himself as a godlike figure. However, the main reason for the cult is for Tengen to maintain a constant source of victims to eat. Just like a Hashira, Tengen would take multiple wives. However, here he'd treat them as interchangeable and not care for them the same way. In battle, Tengen would have a variety of sound-based blood demon art. He could change his voice to mimic the sound of any person or animal he wanted, so he could lure a victim to somewhere secluded by pretending to be the voice of a loved one or a lost animal. Perfect for setting up an ambush. But he wouldn't be all tricks either. Here, Tengen could create massively destructive shockwaves with his bare hands. A favorite tactic of his would be using these shockwaves to kill an opponent from the inside out by rupturing their organs. Tengen's weakness in battle would be his love of toying with his opponents. He always considers himself the best, so it's very easy for him to underestimate the strength of any enemy. Here, he'd have the role of upper rank 6. He'd be able to take down Daki and Gyutaro, the two demons that gave him so much trouble as a Hashira. The next Hashira we'll be talking about is Obanai Iguro. In his demonic form, he would take the name Orochi. His skin would be covered in scales, and he would have fangs that contain a deadly venom. A bite from him would be fatal in mere minutes. He would have the power to summon demonic snakes to fight on his behalf and transform animals and inanimate objects into aggressive snakes, sort of like the stand Scary Monsters from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. If Obanai found himself against a difficult opponent, he would fully transform himself into a giant multi-headed snake. This would be his most powerful and most rarely used form. Obanai would be fairly rational when it comes to fighting. He'd often consider every possibility before making a move and would try to be as precise as possible when making a strike. Here, he would hold the title of lower rank 1, and as a demonic Hashira, he would be leagues stronger than someone like Enmu. The next Hashira we'll look at is one of the ones featured in Swordsmith Village, Mitsuri Kanroji. We all know she's the love Hashira, but here she'd represent the opposite of love, envy. Her demon name would be Kuchisake. As a demon, Mitsuri would have heavy scars around her mouth, making it look like she has a permanent smile. And instead of pink, her hair would be pitch black with white tips. She would still use her whip-like sword and would enjoy using it to torture her opponents. Her personality would be very sadistic and cruel. She would also be vain and obsessed with beauty. She would most likely feed on men. She'd be less interested in eating women, instead preferring to give them facial scars identical to her own and leave them alive just to watch them suffer. Her blood demon art would be a hypnotic power used to lure in her victims, as well as illusions that hide her true demonic form and make her look inhumanly beautiful to her prey. She would only reveal her true form right when she's about to attack. Mitsuri would only have the position of lower rank 3. Despite sounding a bit unimpressive, Mitsuri would still still be very powerful and way stronger than the demon who had that spot before her. Let's move on to the only other woman among the Hashira, Shinobu Kocho. But as a demon, she would go by the name Okiku. She would be the most animalistic of all the demonic Hashira. She'd have a pair of butterfly wings sprouting from her back, and she'd have the lower body of a giant caterpillar from the waist down. Shinobu would most likely use poisons in combat. Her fingertips would have sharp claws that she'd use to inject people with her various poisons. Some would just kill people, but others would transform humans into bugs, similar to what Rui's spider family was doing to people. In terms of personality, Shinobu would have a very cold and clinical personality. She wouldn't enjoy watching people suffer, but instead see it as a scientific study. A favorite hobby of hers would be going to an unsuspecting village and poisoning the well and watching as people drink her poison. Shinobu has the honor of being lower ranked too. Again, even though that may not seem like much, she'd still be way stronger than the former lower rank 2. If you like our ideas for Demon Hashira and want to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so you never miss our videos. Next, let's talk about Sanemi Shinozugawa. He would take the name Futen as a demon and would have green skin and a single horn coming from his forehead. He wouldn't wear a shirt or shoes and would use a surprisingly acrobatic style of combat. He'd use short bursts of wind to propel himself around at high speeds. His blood demon art would allow him to use powerful gusts of wind to attack opponents. He could also use his winds to spread deadly toxins. Sanemi would have a very violent personality and relish spreading death and destruction wherever he went. In particular, he'd enjoy creating large hurricanes to wipe out buildings just to prove that he can. He wouldn't get along very well with other demons either, preferring to work alone. Here, we think Sanemi would have the position of upper rank 3. He'd be stronger than Akaza thanks to his brutal and unrestrained fighting style. Next, let's move on to one of the other Hashira currently featured in Swordsmith Village, Muichiro Tokido, or as he'd be known as a demon, Enenra. He would dress in a long flowing black robe that hides most of his body. Beneath the robe, he'd mostly look the same as he did as a human, except for his inhumanly pale skin, red eyes, and sharp claws. Muichiro would mostly rely on stealth when it came to hunting his prey. He'd create a thick shroud of mist to obscure himself and confuse potential victims. His mist also has hallucinogenic properties that disorient his opponents. His personality would still be pretty similar to how he was as a Hashira, meaning he's very quiet and aloof, not spending much time with other demons. He would prefer to work alone when he can. Here, he'd have the rank of upper rank 2, much stronger than Doma. When you consider Muichiro's ancestry, we think he deserves this spot. Next up, it's the first Hashira we ever met in Demon Slayer, Giyu Tomioka. But here, he'd take the name Kaigyo. Giyu would have gray, scaly skin and webbed hands and feet. He would also have fins on his back and arms to further emphasize his aquatic appearance. Giyu would be incredibly selective about which humans he feeds on. He would treat being a demon like a gift and would only turn humans he takes a liking to into demons. He would also be something of a picky eater. He'd go out of his way to target and eat humans who he considers strong. He would leave alone those he considers weaker, as he believed that their blood isn't worthy of being consumed by him. In terms of powers, Giyu would be able to breathe underwater and swim with incredible speed and dexterity. He'd be able to summon aquatic monsters to help him in a battle that would resemble creatures like crabs, fish, eels, and octopi. His most dangerous power would be the ability to manipulate the water inside the human body. It would let him control bodies like puppets, sort of like bloodbending from Avatar. He could also use this to drain humans of the water in their bodies, leaving them dried up husks. Somewhat fittingly, Giyu would have the rank of upper rank 5. He'd be replacing the other water-themed demon Gyoko and would easily be able to dispatch him. And now last, but certainly not least, is the most powerful Hashira, Gyomei Himejima. As the strongest Hashira, he'd also be the strongest of all these demons. In this demon form, he'd be named Tendo. He would dress in finely tailored purple robes with gold trim and still wear his prayer beads. Gyomei would also wear a veil that obscures his entire face, but beneath that veil is a singular eye in the middle of his forehead, like a cyclops. Gyomei would attempt to blend into human society as a monk. However, he wouldn't believe the things he preaches. Instead, he would be incredibly materialistic and corrupt, indulging in a lavish lifestyle. He would have a small accompaniment of human followers around him at all times who would do his bidding. Similar to our version of Tengen, Gyomei would occasionally feed on his human followers. Gyomei would be able to change his height at will, becoming as tall as the highest trees in an instant. He could also harden his skin into a stone-like substance, making it difficult for even a Nichiren blade to slice through him. Most of his demon blood art would focus on manipulating the earth. He could cause small earthquakes, create large spikes of stone, and even summon golems made of rocks and clay to fight for him. Gyomei would have the role of upper rank 1 and would be on par with Kokushibo. We're not quite sure if Gyomei would be able to defeat Kokushibo. After all, Kokushibo has centuries of experience. But what do you think? And which of these demonic Hashira is your favorite?